What if I told you that everything you've been told about confidence is a lie? Yeah, fake it until it's nothing but nonsense that just keeps you where you are. You see, confidence isn't some magical quality that only a select few possess. It's a skill, and most of us develop it completely wrong. But here's the rub. You'll never get confidence unless you start doing certain things. And trust me, some of them will make you feel uncomfortable. Ready to get real? Then let's get started. 1. Stop comparing yourself to others. Yes, it hurts because I know you do it. All of us do it. Comparison is the stupidest game in the world that nobody wins. I know what you mean. You start thinking, what have I accomplished? You know that, don't you? Believe me, I felt the same way. I used to sit in my pajamas, eating cold pizza, and watching social media, envious of people who seemed to be living the perfect life. I felt like a total loser. But everything they don't tell you, it's all fake. No one shows moments of fatigue, doubt, or worry. You only see their best moments and start comparing them to what's behind the scenes of your life. It's like comparing your work week to their Saturday night. Completely different things. Comparing yourself to others is a trap that destroys your confidence. You're running your race, not theirs. And if you're constantly looking at other people's lanes, you're going to stumble. Comparing yourself to others is all you've ever done. You're better than you were last week or last month is what really matters. Honestly, I spent years of my life trying to catch up with people I thought were more successful than myself. Friends with perfect jobs and lives, or even strangers who seemed to have it all figured out. But it wasn't until I stopped chasing their idea of success and focused on my path that I started to feel real confidence. Because, you'll never be them. You are you, and that's your strength. Your path is unique. No one else can walk that path for you. And you know what? If all the other arguments don't work, just remember, no one thinks about you as much as you do. Most people are too busy with their own problems to even notice. So stop wasting your time trying to meet some fictional standard that doesn't exist. The deeper truth is that when you stop comparing yourself to others, you start to find peace in who you are. And with that peace comes confidence. Being the best is all about being the best version of yourself. You need to be yourself, and trust me, when you do, life will be so much easier. So the next time you catch yourself comparing yourself, stop and remind yourself, I'm running my race, and honestly, that's the only race worth winning. 2nd, get toxic people out of your life. Let me be blunt. You need to get rid of toxic people. And before you get defensive, let's be honest. You know exactly who I'm talking about. You have that friend or family member or coworker who constantly drains your energy, makes you doubt yourself, or just brings constant negativity into your life. But you keep them around because you feel guilty. You've known them your whole life. Sorry, but that's no reason to let them keep you from being the confident and thriving person you should be. Look, I used to be that person who pleases everyone. I thought I could fix people, help them see the light, make everyone happy. And guess what? It never worked. Every time I felt drained, like my life had been drained out of me. These people complained about everything all the time, never happy about my successes, and somehow always made me feel guilty for their problems. At some point, I had to realize that they were toxic. No amount of positive vibes was going to change that. Here's where the discomfort starts. These toxic people could be your loved ones that you've lived with for years, but are constantly pulling you into their drama. It could even be a family member. Yes, I said it. Family can be toxic too. And yes, it is. You've been trained to think that the family gets away with it because blood is not water. But let me tell you, your sanity is more important than any guilt your toxic relative tries to pin on you. I had a friend. Let's call him Mike. We were friends for years. Everything was great. But over time, I noticed that after seeing Mike, I felt exhausted. He would talk down to me, make sarcastic remarks about my goals, and if I managed to achieve something, he would just shrug his shoulders and start doubting me. Something? Maybe I'm exaggerating or I should try harder to support him. But one day I realized Mike was the problem. I wasn't doing anything wrong. I was just evolving and he couldn't handle it. I had to make the painful decision to cut off communication. And believe me, it was like taking a 20 off my shoulders. You're toxic. Goodbye. Goodbye. If that's your style, though, I respect that, but you need to set boundaries and cut contact with people who bring nothing good to your life. Continuing to violate those boundaries means it's time to take scissors. Your environment affects you more than you realize, and that includes the people around you. If you're constantly interacting with negative, energy-sucking, or toxic people, guess what happens? It's bound to affect your thinking. Like it or not, it's impossible to build confidence by being around people who constantly break you down or make you question your worth. Confidence grows in a healthy, supportive atmosphere, not a toxic one. So cut off the toxic people? From my own life, I can tell you it's hard and uncomfortable. You may feel like you're a villain, but in reality, you are not responsible for other people's problems. You are only responsible for your own peace of mind. When you realize this, you'll start to notice how much lighter, happier, and more confident you feel. I experienced this. When I started to distance myself from toxic people, I had more energy to focus on my goals, my happiness, and my growth. It was like I started breathing again. So yeah, maybe it's controversial, but sometimes the best thing you can do is... One thing you can do for your confidence is take a pair of scissors and cut off toxic relationships. Life is too short to be dragging around dead weight. Surround yourself with people who lift you up, not pull you down. Trust me, you'll thank yourself for it later. And remember, it's not about being cruel or heartless. It's about self-respect. It's about realizing that your time, your energy, and your peace of mind are worth protecting. The more you put yourself first, the more confident you become. That's it. Build a life where you, not toxic people, play the major roles. If you have Mike or that friend that always drags you down, you know what to do. We all deserve a third chance. Express your opinion. This point may make some of you freeze in your seats, but let's get right to the point. You need to speak up. And before you start, I don't want to create conflict, or I don't like confrontation, so I'm going to stop you right there. Silence is not a virtue. Silence makes you invisible. You think that by staying in the shadows, you make others' lives more comfortable? Let's be honest. It's not self-confidence, and it's self-sabotage. Look, I get your point. I used to be able to keep quiet myself, sitting in meetings, nodding my head like a toy on a dashboard, even if I had questions, ideas, or disagreements. But I didn't want to be the one to speak up and stop everyone else. I thought being silent made me calmer, but it's really nothing. Let's talk openly. People won't magically know what's on your mind unless you say it out loud, but it's the shocking truth. And while we're at it, let's end this ridiculous idea that you have to keep quiet to avoid rocking the boat. Guess what? Sometimes the boat needs to be rocked. Confidence isn't about keeping everything smooth and flawless. It's about being real, allowing yourself to show your thoughts and feelings, even if your opinion might be uncomfortable for someone else. If you keep quiet, you make yourself invisible. Yes, this may sound harsh, but the truth is that avoiding speaking out for fear of what others will think of you is a road to nowhere. The easiest way to make your ideas, needs, and even yourself go unnoticed is like showing up to a party and standing in the corner, expecting someone to suddenly pay attention to you and invite you into the conversation. But it's not going to happen. If you want to be heard, you have to take action. I remember the first time I forced myself to speak up. It was scary, awkward, and I felt like everything was going wrong. But from that moment on, I realized, if you want to speak up, there is no other way. If you don't speak up, you make yourself invisible. This may seem harsh, but the truth is that staying quiet because you're afraid of what others will think of you is wrong. I remember the first time I had to force myself to speak up, and believe me, it was terrifying. It was a big meeting at work where everyone agreed on some sort of project plan. Even though I inwardly knew it wasn't going to work, I sat there questioning whether I should say anything. What if I'll look like a fool? Confidence is not about being smooth and calm, but about being real, showing yourself fully, even if your opinion might hurt someone. If you don't speak up, you make yourself invisible. This may seem harsh, but the truth is that staying silent for fear of what others will think of you is wrong. Denying your ideas and needs is like showing up to a party and standing in the corner, hoping someone will magically invite you into the conversation. But it's not going to happen. If you want to be heard, you have to step out of the shadows. I remember the first time I forced myself to speak up. It was terrifying. I thought, I'll look like a fool if I say anything. But my inner voice was screaming, say something. Don't just nod. There was silence in the room. And at that moment, I wanted to fall through the ground. But after that awkward pause, the conversation changed. People began to ask me questions, to dig into my arguments, and surprisingly, we completely changed the plan. My idea actually improved the project. Who would have thought it would? I realized that by staying silent, I was not only hurting myself, but also those around me. Sometimes it's your voice that can make a situation better. Voice is needed, and here's why. Speaking out is not just about you, but about the value you bring to others. When you speak up, you give people the opportunity to think differently, to question the familiar, to see things from a new perspective. Your voice matters. Even when in doubt, keep speaking up. Otherwise, people won't be able to benefit from your ideas and experience. And that's a real tragedy, because the world needs real, sincere voices, not the lack of them. Now, you might be thinking, what if I'm wrong? And here's my answer. It's okay to be wrong. It's part of the process. You won't always be right, but that's the essence of confidence. Realizing that even if you're wrong, it's not the end of the world. The key is to participate in the conversation and contribute. And here's a little secret. People who speak up, even if they are sometimes wrong, are more likely to command respect than those who choose to remain silent. Why? Because they have the courage to be open, the courage to be themselves. Speaking out is also about self-respect. It means saying to yourself, my voice is just as important as someone else's. If you don't support yourself, who will? Confidence is not waiting for someone to give you permission to speak. It's realizing that your thoughts, feelings, and opinions deserve to be heard. So the next time you feel the urge to speak up, but hesitate, don't slow down, speak up. Whether you're right, wrong, or somewhere in between, the important thing is that you had the courage to express your point of view. Failure is inevitable, but that's okay. Failure is inevitable. Prepare for them, because they're inevitable. And here's the catch. Failures don't just happen. They're necessary. You don't become confident until you experience failure. That's how real life is built. I used to be so afraid of failure that I wouldn't try anything new unless I was 99% sure of success. It was a terrible way to live. I clung to my comfort zone and watched others take risks, grow, and succeed. And then I failed miserably. I failed miserably at a project I was confident in. I was embarrassed, disappointed, and wanted to disappear off the face of the earth. But something amazing happened. I survived. The world didn't collapse, and I realized that the fear of mistakes loses its power when you face them head on. After that, I started taking more risks. And you know what? I was wrong again, more than once. But each time, I got stronger, smarter, and more resilient. Your voice is important. Don't be the background in your life. Voice your thoughts, get in the game, make mistakes, and learn. The world needs your voice. What's the secret that no one will tell you? Failure is your third way. They are like lifting weights. It's hard at first, but that's how you get stronger. When you go beyond your limits and you feel a burning sensation, that's when growth happens. If things are too smooth in your life, with no mistakes or losses, then you're playing too safe. And yes, that's not a compliment. Saying "I've never failed" speaks not to your strength, but to your fear of change. Failures are not only painful, but also a huge potential for growth. They are an opportunity to learn, to prove to yourself that you can survive defeat and come out of it stronger. Real confidence comes not from avoiding mistakes, but from the ability to overcome them. Take a look at the stories of legendary personalities. Steve Jobs. He was fired from a company he created himself. Oprah Winfrey. She was fired from her first television job. Joanne Rowling. Her Harry Potter was rejected by 12 publishers. If they had dwelt on their failures, the world would never have known of their great accomplishments. Now think about yourself. My personal failure was painful. I invested everything: time, money, energy, and it cracked. Going back to my parents after that was humiliating. But after a while, I realized that failure made me stronger. It taught me resilience and resourcefulness, and took away the fear of failure. Failure is not the end, it's the beginning. They shatter the illusion of perfection. Get rid of ego and fear of judgment. They show you what you are truly made of. Each fall is not a dead end, but a new stepping stone. The more you stumble, the stronger you stand on your feet. Resilience, tempered through failure, is the foundation of true, unbreakable confidence. And one more important rule: surround yourself with people who support you. This may sound like a corny phrase from a motivational poster, but it's true. People who want to see you fail or hold you back are not your allies. You deserve an environment that will help you grow, even if it means revisiting old connections. Failure builds you, and you build your confidence. Supports, challenges, and most importantly, believes in you. But here's where the difficulty comes in. Sometimes those you think are close friends or a mainstay are really not. And that's the hard truth. Let's be honest. If those around you aren't cheering you on, inspiring you to grow, or telling you the truth when you're cheating yourself, they're not helping you, but instead holding you back. And the key point is that it's not always obvious. It can show up in little things like slippery compliments or conspicuous silence when you talk about your goals. This is a red flag. If someone can't handle your growth, you might want to reconsider that relationship. Let me share a personal experience. I had a friend, let's call her Sarah. We were close for years, did a lot of things together. But over time, I noticed a strange pattern. Every time I shared my successes, she either downplayed or ignored them. It was subtle, an underlying negativity that was felt in her words and reactions, as if she couldn't accept my growth. At first, I tried to make excuses for her, thinking she was just worried about me or wanted to protect me. But the more it happened, the clearer it became. She wasn't supporting me, and her behavior was hindering my development. And here's the important thing to realize. If people don't contribute to your growth over the years, whether they are friends or even close family members, it's a signal to think about what they contribute to your life. Families. Look, I get it. We've all been taught that loyalty is sacred, but blind loyalty to people who don't support you is a form of self-destruction hidden behind a pretty signboard. You don't owe anyone your time or energy, especially if those people make you feel insignificant. I remember when I first started setting boundaries and limiting communication with those who weren't interested in my growth. It was difficult and weird. I worried that I looked selfish or too rigid. But the more I distanced myself from toxic people, the clearer my path became. And you know what? It opened up space for the right people. The ones who genuinely cheered my successes, supported me in difficult moments, and challenged me when I was lazy or doubted myself. I would like to say that finding a supportive team is like moving from a rusty bicycle to a modern sports car. Everything suddenly becomes faster, smoother, and most importantly, more joyful. You need people who inspire you and make you believe that anything is possible, not people who secretly hope you stay where you are so they can feel comfortable in their stagnation. There is a wise expression: you are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. Look around and think, do these people inspire you? Are they supporting your growth? Or, on the contrary, are they draining and dragging you backwards? If the answer is the latter, then it's time to make some serious decisions. Yes, you may have to do some house cleaning in your environment, but trust me, it's worth it. When you start surrounding yourself with the right people, life changes. It becomes lighter, brighter, and filled with real energy. It starts to feel brand new. But it's not just about positive emotions or approving applause from those around you. What's important here is not just having a support group, but building a network of trust, responsibility, and growth. The right people will not only support you in difficult moments, but also point out your mistakes, help you see your potential when you doubt it yourself. They will give you stern but sincere love when you need it, and remind you of your goals if you suddenly lose your way. And here's the bottom line: confidence isn't something you can grow alone. The people around you have a huge impact on your perception of yourself. If you're constantly surrounded by negativity, doubt, or envy, sooner or later it will start to affect you, even if you don't realize it. That's why it's important to feel close to those who help you be the best version of yourself. I learned this through my own experience when I started to break off relationships with people who weren't supportive. It was hard at first. I felt guilty, like I was betraying old friends. But then, I found new people who genuinely enjoyed my successes, inspired me, and helped me set more ambitious goals. These people supported me when things were hard and reminded me of my worth when I didn't see it myself. Let's be honest. With friends who genuinely support you, life becomes easier and more fun. Instead of getting stuck in the negativity, you inspire each other by going through life with a smile. This creates a constant uplifting effect, and importantly, this energy is contagious. When you're surrounded by people who believe in you, you start to believe in yourself even more. Your confidence becomes solid, not a flimsy structure to be protected from every wind, but a real strength that no one can take away. So do yourself a favor. Go out into the world and find those who inspire, support, and push you to grow. Life is too short to waste it on those who keep you from growing. If you need help, know that I am always there to support you. To go out there and show your greatness. Take bold steps. Don't be afraid of big failures. They only toughen you up. Thanks for watching, and see you in the next video.